It is believed that what we think before going to bed has special properties and uniquely affects our brain and subconscious mind. This seems to be true. I'm Darina, a practicing therapist, and I'm just done my psychology postgrad in Australia. And today we are going to talk about what you can do in the evening to help making your dreams come true. Even though it might sound like some magical voodoo stuff, there is actually a real science to it. By the way, there is a very specific way of doing it. There is one specific detail that matters, so make sure you stick right until the end to use this technique correctly. Back in the 1970s, John Grinder, the creator of neuro-linguistic programming, which is an approach to psychotherapy, began studying Nobel Prize winners. He was trying to understand what set them apart and what allowed them to achieve such significant results that humanity recognized their achievements as historic. He found that Nobel Prize winners have two things in common. One is that they all had a tough childhood. There isn't a single Nobel laureate who had an easy upbringing. The second is that they all dreamed in the same way. So in the 70s, John Grinder began developing a technique that we have now perfected into a practical tool. This technique is called the future vision. So what is this technique about? In the 1970s, during the training of intelligence officers in America, they discovered that when a person visualizes a physical action from within, it triggers the same neural signals along the same pathways as if they were actually performing the action. For example, if I imagine lifting a dumbbell with my left arm without actually moving it, just picturing it in my head, and do this every day after a month, my left arm will be much stronger than my right. When individuals vividly imagine themselves performing a particular physical action, it can activate similar regions of the brain that are involved in actual movement execution. This can lead to increased muscle activation, blood flow, and even slight muscle growth over time. Of course, though, not to the same extent as physical exercise. Research shows that visualizing can help improve muscle memory and skill acquisition in athletes. But there is more to it. A good doctor will recommend that a patient who is paralyzed after a stroke must mentally move the paralyzed limb. This mental exercise speeds up recovery significantly due to the process discussed above. This concept of mental training is now used in various fields, like by actors rehearsing their roles or athletes mentally rehearsing their future matches. When you can't physically train, you can lie down and imagine yourself doing the activity. And now I'm gonna move to the specifics of this method and how to do it correctly to make it work. There are different ways we can visualize ourselves. One approach is to imagine looking from our own eyes. We see our hands, our feet, our body, but we don't see our face, just like in a real life. You can also imagine yourself from an outside perspective, as if you were watching yourself in a movie. This is known as a dissociated view. However, research shows that when you imagine yourself in a dissociated way, there is no automatic response from your body, no physical impulse, no increased blood flow, and no muscle growth. So, to visualize from your own perspective is the correct way of doing this technique. Now let's have a look at a step-by-step process of how to do it. You picture yourself in the future where all your dreams have come true. You first imagine this scene from a dissociated perspective. You think about what your life looks like in 5 years, what you are doing, what you have, how you spend your time, and what your relationships are like. This part is needed just to have a general understanding of what do you want. And then the real work is coming. After visualizing this scene from a distance, you then step into this vision, experiencing everything from your future self viewpoint. It's similar to taking a car for a test drive. Why do we do that? Because when you sit inside the car, only after you understand if it's the right fit for you. It might look perfect from the outside, but you only really understand how it feels and how comfortable it is when you are inside it. If after imagining yourself living your ideal future you feel positive about it, the next step is to reflect on the past. Picture your past self as a separate person and tell them what steps you took to achieve this future. This is called future vision. You start by visualizing your desired future, then from that viewpoint you give advice to your past self or present self on what actions to take. We all understand hindsight, knowing what we should have done years ago. Nobel laureates are often able to anticipate this kind of insight years before most people. It's like giving a mountaineer the chance to fly over the route in a helicopter and take note of all the obstacles, the gear needed, the rope lengths, and even choose the best path from above. Then, when they return to start the climb, they're much more prepared. The same happens with this technique. I recommend doing this exercise in the evenings before bed. Around 9:30 p.m. your body starts producing melatonin, the sleep hormone. It slows down many physiological processes, preparing the body for sleep, including vivid imagery and a relaxed state with lowered blood pressure and heart rate. Basically, a peaceful, ready-to-sleep state. Melatonin helps your body enter this state, so in the evening, when you are ready for vivid dreams or hallucinations right before falling asleep, if you do this technique, your brain will work all night processing this information, figuring out how to achieve that future, planning routes, creating ideas, and start consolidating resources. From the next day, your brain starts guiding you towards this goal. That's how we are wired. To move forward, we don't need to think about the tools, we just need to look where we want to go. The brain will find the steps and coordinate all the necessary internal resources to get there. This is a complex task involving millions of operations per second, but the brain manages those. Moreover, it starts seeking and attracting what's needed from the outside world to reach your goal. So technically, you start getting those ideas. Oh, I have to talk to this person. Oh, I have to do this thing. Oh, I have to apply for this course, and so on and so forth. If you do this exercise a few times a week in the evening, it can change your life. Give it a try. If you found this video useful, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Look after yourself and your loved ones, and I will see you in next videos.